two, three, four. Savage World, one of the best games today. Hey, hey. Savage World, better than my play. Yeah, my play. Savage World, different setting every day. Oh, great friends we can make. Why? Well, because it's fast, serious, and fun. I wanna be a cowboy with a pearl handle gun. I wanna be an agent with the bad guys on the run. I wanna hack the net of those big bad corpos. I wanna explore the galaxy like no one has before. Savage World, one of the best games today. Savage World, better enhance my play. Savage World, different setting every day. I want a piece of monsters and those magical foes. I want to fight the big boss in my Appalachian woes. I want to be a super for the common good. I want to be the loved outlaw just like Robin Hood. Savage World. All right, I think I got the audio working now. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Let me know in the chat if I'm not coming through and if everything is not right. So welcome. It's a Friday night, no game. So it's always, so I decided to be nice to just do a Friday night no game live stream. I put out a poll, the last one I did, and folks said, yeah, on occasion it might be nice to have that happen. Now I'm hoping Eric's going to join me tonight. He has a couple of things that he's got to get done, but then once he's done with those, he's going to join. And so it'd be nice to do some banter back and forth with Eric on some of the stuff he's been working on. He's got some interesting stuff in his campaign that's going, and I've got interesting stuff in my campaign that's going on right now. So yeah, it's kind of always a bummer. I think everybody knows when a game isn't going to happen, and you're getting kind of excited about the game, and you got all the prep work done, and the team, the folks that I'm playing with right now are really at a very interesting moment in the game. So they've discovered that this force, the Wrath, which are like this unknowable kind of species, has biologically created folks that look like humans, and they've also, since Eric's not on now, I can give this a little bit away. They've also got other biological things that they kind of plug into people to take them over. And so what they've done is, so the team has discovered this. There was like a big peace meeting. They were called away on false pretenses back to their ship. And during that period of time, the delegates were sort of taken over. And so the players had to kind of flee their base of operation, the big space station or planet that they had been working, or that kind of was their base of operation for this group that they're part of called the Vanguards. And so now they're out in space, and this is where we're at. It's like, what are they going to do now we're talking about things happening at kind of an epic scale in the galaxy, and they're a piece of it. And now how do they influence the story? I'm not sure I got it all down exactly what's going to happen, because it's really, as always, we all know, right? Where the players go is where the players go, and you have to react to it. And they're telling the story. It's not my story. It's a joint story, right? Everybody agrees with that, right? Who's in the chat? It's a creative endeavor for all of us. It's not, I'm just telling a story. I just set up the situation, the scenarios, um, kind of what this overarching concept is, and then we go by that. And how things change is how things change. So hopefully we'll get back to gaming. Obviously, folks were off. It's Thanksgiving. I hope everybody on the stream had a great Thanksgiving if you're from the United States, or you celebrate it wherever you are. So I had a pretty good, pretty quiet one, because I had gone visited family the week before Thanksgiving, and that's when we did our Thanksgiving. And so it was sort of like it was already over for me. But it was nice to have a day off, another day off to kind of prep, get ready for this. To talk to everybody. So it was nice, and I hope everybody had a good holiday, because it's always nice to have. So let's talk some gaming stuff. Um, I think Eric's on. All right. All right. Well, okay. Well, hold on. You're like super loud, I think. Let me bring you in. Bring in Eric in. Hold on.
But I missed my shot.
Yeah, you missed your shot. So Eric's here, yay! So I just was chatting a little bit about Thanksgiving, and welcome, wishing everybody a great holiday,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. So um, very exciting. So I wanted you to. So we've just Wild Eric has appeared. Love it. We just started. You just started revising your Powers book. We put up the first
Yes.
pass. We just went
Uh-huh.
through it today. It's like this is going to be an opus, right? It's there's a lot
I,
there. So
yes, from a power optimization talking about nerd shit opus for sure. It's already twice the length that it was. And partly that's due to the added fantasy companion power edges, but I also went through like revisited the powers, dealt with all the updates that have happened, which is there's been so many. It's been like I think I wrote that when it was like Suede 1 or Suede 2.
yeah, like V
So
1.2, I think, is when we did that one. So when you did that
yeah,
one,
so it's like what we're in V5 now, and it's like completely different, even the base Suede. And then I also added the FC mod, so that was just like a complete just having to comb through everything. Uh just pretty much a lot of my free time went to
yeah,
between
yeah.
some gaming went to that. So
Yeah, so I was talking a little bit about the campaign, and where you guys are like at kind of a cusp of greatness or utter
yeah,
failure. It could go either way. Um,
it
so
certainly feels like maybe that nearing the end of the campaign. Like it feels
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not sure. Like you kind of I think you also kind of wanted it to end here too, right? Like that was kind of your
Well,
space games. Yeah,
well,
go on.
it's getting to that point where the big stuff is happening, right?
Yeah,
It's at a galactic scale, and you guys are part of that, and so yeah, it's going to come to a head, because once it comes to a
yeah,
head, there's no, oh, we'll do episodic trading episodes,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. Um, so so I asked you a question, and so I'm going to ask a question. There's a few people in the chat. So I started working on a standalone application, character sheet, character application that would run on your desktop. That's not Foundry. You don't have to go into Foundry. You don't have to pull it up through Foundry and everything. It is kind of a sheet that's on your screen that you can work from. And I'm writing that in Electron. So I'm wondering. I'm just going to show it real quick. You won't be able to see this because I don't think you're not on the chat, right?
I can.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, I'm just. Oh, so I'm going to show this. And so it's a complete standalone character sheet that has, sort of everything set up for use. You can add what you need to add. If you add like a edge, it has a drop down that gives you a chance to drop it up and down and see information about it, and learn about it. For powers, same thing. You drop it down, it gives powers, it gives the modifiers. So it's really designed for just being on your tabletop. Not not it's not got automation. It's got a big pop up that you can put over on the side with your wounds that you can click on. And so it's
It's a
not,
digital sheet. It's a digital sheet,
yeah,
right?
it's a
Is that what you're
digital
going
sheet
for?
with
Yeah.
not a lot of automation. And I'm trying to figure out, go back to this. I'm trying to figure out whether, well, he's mentioned C++. It's actually JavaScript. It's an Electron app. So Electron is what Discord is written in. So it's a cross-platform language. So I can write it once, and then um, I can I can deploy it on Windows or Mac or Linux or whatever without having to rewrite it. So anyway, um, so yeah, it's a JavaScript application. So, but is something like that's even useful, valuable? So I put it out to the chat. I put it out to the folks on, and I'm asking you, Eric, because it was all about an exercise in writing an Electron app, something that could be a cross-platform um, uh, desktop application, so to speak. And so naturally, everything I do kind of falls into the gaming category. And so I wrote a character sheet, with data management and drop downs, and you can add your own skills, you can select the skills there, you can do whatever you want to do, from the basic, but it doesn't have automation. It doesn't have, if you increase your fighting, it doesn't automatically change your parry. It doesn't do
Okay.
automation. It's a sheet that you're manipulating and doing things with. Other than encumbrance, it does encumbrance because nobody wants to do the math for encumbrance. So what do you think?
Yeah, because there's already like PDF fillable sheets, so it definitely would have to be, I think, generally for people to want to use it, somewhat more automated than that, right? From like a purely
So you think automation
fillable
is key?
sheet.
So you think automation
100%.
is needed?
The next level up from a PDF, as far as like when I'm gaming IRLF or digital products, it's like the form fillable PDFs. Then you have automation, and then you have like usually a paid app that like has, right, like like all the mechanics in it, like the descriptions of the edges and things like that. But
Well,
that's a third level up kind of.
yeah. Well, in my sheet, you can basically set all that stuff up if you want, and then you can just drop down and have all the descriptions and everything like that. So,
But you have to write them in manually, right?
well, you don't need to as long as I give it away free. So the PEG license
Okay.
is as long as you're not selling it. If you're selling it, you got to be a licensee. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. So that would be the third level, I would say. I would say the first step is automation, then followed by um, yeah, having like the information. Because at least for something like Pathfinder, which I don't know, like people sometimes I hear people say Savage Worlds is like, oh, it's like much simpler version or something, and I'm like, yeah, there's definitely less fiddly bits, but as far as character choices,
yeah.
like in some ways, Pathfinder it could be much easier because you have those kind of feat buckets, right? Savage Worlds is like an open playground with just requirements being the thing. There's no classes, so um, yeah, definitely people seem to love like those apps for Pathfinder. So there's definitely a market for it, at least for either
Well,
interest or
not,
money.
and again, I don't really look at making money. You can look at like
Sure, yeah,
90% of my website. There's nothing for sale on my website, So,
yeah.
so my
We're not
dice
selling a
rollers,
product.
for my dice rollers, my stream deck macros, all that stuff is just on the site.
The
So,
only product you're selling is a couple of your one shots, right?
yeah, and that was just so I could see how swag worked. And
Yeah,
I might put other stuff up at swag later or whatever for some of the other ones, but it's
I thought about it too, but yeah.
well, we were just
You
talking
even
about that.
mentioned that I should make, yeah, that I should make this power document a swag product, but I mean, I don't know.
So anyway, so what other topics would be cool to talk about? So I actually put together a D12 rollable table that has
Okay.
different topics on it. So I could roll on the table and it would give a topic. I don't know.
Sure.
Or do you have it? Do you want? What do you want to talk about? I'll
I
give.
mean, part of the topics. I mean that there's the power document, and part of it could just be like episodes that maybe people want to see, or we want to kind of talk about
Oh yeah,
some
sure,
next episodes. But
sure.
I that sounds fun. I mean, hey, you like to gamify everything, so I'm into that too. So if there's a dice to roll, right,
All
you will
right.
try to roll it.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
So roll. So pull out a d10 and roll a d10 for me, and see
okay?
what of the
You want
10
should I
topics.
manually get a dice?
Yeah, do
Should
the old
I
school. Old school.
old school style? Okay, let me get my here's my dice pouch, which matches my half robe that I got at this weird fair in my town. Um, it's not very functional, but it is nice and soft. So
It's nice, those and soft.
let's see. Okay, I got some Pathfinder dice here. Wait, that's a D8, D10. Here we go. It's a D12. Jesus. And one day, here's a D. No, that's also a D12. Here we go. Here's a D10.
Oh yeah, power
I
creep
kind
and
of forgot
savage.
what D10s looked like. You know,
Savage Worlds Pathfinder, power creep. Yeah, I mean the characters are much more powerful, for sure, for
in
sure.
what Savage Pathfinder?
Yeah, Savage Pathfinder.
Oh yes. I mean, I literally talked about that in what was it was like, oh, it was like things to know before you play Pathfinder. We did a video on that, right?
Yep.
Specifically about like the differences when if you want to start a Pathfinder game, Savage Pathfinder, and you're used to Suede. That was one of the things that I brought up. That was like one of the top 5 things was specifically how much more powerful you are as a Savage Pathfinder player. And I mean, to be fair, the creatures are more powerful, but like the normal kind of, if you're a game master who's played a lot of Savage Worlds, then the normal kind of calculation to do in your mind, you have to switch that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because just the class edges on their own are just very strong. There's so much synergy that you can do with them that like get added on top, and that you get one for free just from the beginning. Like you just are a stronger character. So
Right. Right. And even creatures that seem tougher, unless they're
yeah,
wild cards, they're still extras, and you
yeah,
know they still go down easy. To be honest with you. So
yeah. Johnny, yeah, I'm looking at the chat now. Yeah, I think for the APs, you just kind of have to buff. You just have to buff creatures. Like you just have to make more of them vulnerable, or very sorry, not vulnerable, resilient or very resilient. You know, just adding on some wound things for creatures is an easy way to make things harder, right? Just upping their toughness a little bit. You can just do small tweaks like that, just to kind of make it more powerful because there's so many art like in our game that you ran, right? I mean, my character was very powerful. I did a monk sorcerer mix. I mean, everybody was. So yeah,
yeah.
that is a big deal. But we did talk about that. We did do a video about that
Oh
specifically.
yeah, we did for sure, for sure.
But we didn't give hints. So maybe that's something. There's still something there. Maybe there's still some fertile ground there to give more hints. Like how do you actually challenge people in Pathfinder, right? I mean, right now you're in my Savage Pathfinder game, so what do you think? I mean, you're coming in. So Carl came in. I had some problems with this, so I made a very open game, very sandboxy type game with a lot of like super high adventure, like very big stakes, very big contained world, with people getting, even though it's Savage Pathfinder, and they're even have gotten more stuff, like more special stuff. They've gotten like a lot of extra edges and stuff. And you came in as a gunslinger, which with the new updated gunslinger, we were kind of unsure, like what is the power level of the gunslinger, because
Yeah.
there's some issues with it, but how strong is it? So you're coming in, you're in a big battle right now. How are you feeling the difficulty level is, or how you're performing?
I'm feeling that you should have scaled. That's how I'm feeling. But
What do you mean?
I'm feeling like we were forced. This is a feeling, of course, so it's all opinion. We were kind of forced to have to go in and attack, kind of because we had really a choice. And so we had the 2 big goblin in the armor things. They're deadly, really good. As soon as we got through got into the castle, the fact you brought another one in, it was like I would have scaled that back. I would have pulled that back until I saw how the players were doing, because those 2 goblin things are like deadly on their own, and we don't really have a way of taking them out yet. And then I'm just saying, and personally, I would have scaled it.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do have something else in the just in case. Like that's the thing with Savage Worlds. I find in the best way to go about difficulty scale, right, is always have things like that you can narratively easily fit in, like reinforcements or something else that comes out to like see how players are doing, right? The thing is, Carl, before you join, like they've been doing, it's Savage Pathfinder. They've been doing just very well. Like they've been just getting through hard challenges. So
So it's my
I definitely
fault.
wanted this one to, I just wanted to feel, yeah, I wanted this one to feel like, oh shit, like you guys are getting, and it was basically a bunch of critical failures happen where, you know, this whole map was set up. They're invading a fort, and it was all set up to maybe do a little espionage, maybe do a little sabotage, right? Coming from a different angle, like get a drop. But there was like 2 critical fails in a row, so basically they they you guys had to do a frontal assault, right? But no, but nobody's really gone down, so we'll see.
I'm just worried if they
Um,
will. So we got a thing in
yeah,
what genre are you feeling for the next game after the big galaxy spanning? I haven't thought about it yet. Honestly, I mean, I don't
yeah,
know. I feel something like it'd be cool to maybe just have you guys secret agents or something. I mean, something more
okay,
grounded in today's world or something. I don't know. I'm just I've been watching a lot of TV show in today's world, and there's so rich, fertile
yeah,
ground for like interesting concepts that it's like, boy, that'd be so easy to pull and take advantage of and build some mysteries around it or whatever. But
yeah.
I don't know. But we'd have to talk about it and see what everybody's
Yeah, they're
thinking.
usually the
So
group kind of talks
yeah,
about stuff. The best thing about that is that you don't have to do a lot of you don't have to come up with a lot of lore or background information, right? It's just kind of there for the for the take. Oh, okay, we're in our modern world. Um,
and so
yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
it's because this galaxy scanning one, like there's a lot of lore, and I actually contributed a lot to that too. Um, and we didn't even go overboard. You just need that, right? You just need it to like actually have a world, a galaxy that feels kind of real. So, um, yeah.
Now, Secret Agents of Section D is the Secret Agent Section D. So,
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
oh yeah, yeah, I looked at that one a while ago. It's really actually pretty good. It's set kind of in the 40s, so it's like World War
Oh,
II
okay.
kind of
I'm always
vintage
down for
stuff.
that.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. It definitely
As
maybe I
long as
should.
there's powers,
Yeah,
I'm
there's
good.
powers. There's powers. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure, for sure. And then what do we think of Daggerheart? So I have not played Daggerheart. I've
Yeah,
watched a
I have
lot
not
of
played.
videos on Daggerheart.
Yeah,
I'm a little concerned about the fact that there's cards and stuff like that you have that you put on your sheets and things. I don't know. It feels like that'd be a tough one to put on a VTT, and all I do is VTTs. So, but I really don't know. I mean, I've heard people compare, do a comparison with that it's high fantasy compared to Draw Steel, which is very tactical fantasy.
oh yeah.
So which is from MCDDM or
I got both
NCCDM.
books right here. Let's see. I guess I kickstarted it because one day I got an email that was like, "Hey, you got the books." Yeah. Um, I would say I haven't played it either. I'm definitely interested in it for sure. Definitely put probably I like crunchy stuff, but just like the concept of like when I was like trying to read through these, I was just kind of hurt my brain. I just you need the right group, right? But you also need the right group for Daggerheart because things like not having an initiative that
Yeah, yeah. People can tromp all over
uh,
each other. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
you really have to have the right group. I think it was almost a miss for them to kind of do that because like so much of their audience are going to be coming from D&D. But I guess it's good that their people are going to be learning how different things work, right?
I
Like
really,
I played a lot of Apocalypse Engine games, which definitely fit that. Like if you played a group with Apocalypse Engine games, that definitely is a much more easier transition to get to Daggerheart than from D&D. But
yeah, I'm looking
yeah, I'm
forward to
definitely interested.
playing.
I would play one for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I think the again, I would want to get the PDF, and so then I wouldn't have the cards and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, do I need the box set? And I forget that's like $40 or $50 or something.
Yeah.
So and then I don't play live. So it's tough to justify it. Plus, I missed a whole bunch of Savage Worlds Kickstarters too, where I just
Yeah.
didn't get involved in them. So, um,
Yeah, Johnny, I like the initiative too. I just think it's you really have to if you're coming from a group that's works with like traditional kind of D&D, then there can definitely be an adjustment, and certain players can definitely be disruptive. I think that's the biggest thing is that certain types of players can definitely not approach something like Daggerheart in the right way, and it will be kind of throw up the whole game, and that's kind of the danger with sometimes some of the those type of more freeform games, right? Where some people like they need those guardrails to kind of keep their darker impulses, I'll say, in
Well, and
check,
you got to,
right?
and then that's a chance to make sure that everybody gets the spotlight at some
Yeah,
point in time versus we all kind of, we have some kind of social contract to determine who gets to go when and how. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it looks like a definitely fascinating game for sure. And it's, and they've got, now they've got the two old lead designers for D&D. So there's going to be
yeah.
a lot of interesting stuff going on there. Um, so yeah. Any other things in the chat, or do you want to roll a D10 and see what pops up?
Yeah, we can roll a d10. Um, for my next game, nobody asked, but
Yeah.
because I have a
What's your
big
next game?
scaling game. Well, we talked about it, and I've written. We were thinking about doing maybe it was one of the ones was a Savage Fallout, which I wrote. If you haven't checked it out, um, I kind of went and added some stuff. So I was doing another Savage Worlds Fallout game. Then we were talking about Cyberpunk, like Cyberpunk Red, which I was starting to convert, but then I kind of gave up and was trying to do my own thing with Cyberpunk. But now I really kind of want to do a superhero game. We were just talking about doing some more videos with superheroes. Um, and part of that is I really want to get back into Savage World Supers. So if I can convince the group to do some type of game using the superhero companion, that would be really cool. And there's a lot of ways you can go with that. You don't have to do the kind of traditional superheroes, right? You can do supernatural stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I think like after, especially after playing Dispatch, half the group has played Dispatch, or most of the group. I think only you haven't played it.
No, I haven't played it.
Kind of people are hankering for that. I rolled a 7.
Let's see. Let's see what 7 is. 7 is prepping an adventure. So
Okay.
you took prepping to the next level with your campaign. So how did you prep for these big set pieces that we just we're just doing? Because here, let me draw the picture of like
Yeah.
I just joined the campaign, and so Eric's got. So we're going after a fort. So he's got a map that's got the fort with a small ship. Then he has a map that has the ship at more actual size. So if a combat happens on the ship, and then he's got our ship that he can move around the map to be next to the other ship. So there's a lot of, and then he's got all the creatures.
There's a third map you haven't seen. There's an interior map. Of
Okay,
that
well, you're giving it away, and then you've got all the tokens set up. You've got visuals for everything. So
yes.
very much a lot of work goes into that. So, well, hey, is it worth it, or how much time does it take?
I enjoy it. I mean, for me, it's I like to collect a lot of. I mean, that map I already had. That was one of the maps I already had from a previous like Patreon or something. And how I really like to do stuff is I like to make factions, and then I like to spend time. I did a lot of this before the campaign even started. I also have done it while the campaign's been going. Like I'll update a faction, but like you've fought the Dark Tide, which is there's another name for them, but that's what people call them, which is the main kind of they're in this basically Caribbean, fantasy Caribbean that's enclosed by this spirit veil. Um, it's called something else, but this kind of mist that allows people in sometimes spontaneous every couple like a year that like allows kind of forces in to help fight this, which is basically the lizard folk are the native peoples and they're fighting the kind of these mutated versions of them. And Carl's character has a backstory with that.
So Holler meets 50 Fathoms. That's funny.
Yes, but yes, definitely. You could think of it as Holler meets 50 Phantoms, 100%. Meets kind of Pathfinder too,
without the gouging rules. So okay.
Yeah, without those crazy rules. There's only there's like 2 main factions that were let in that were the kind of the superpowers from the continent, and one of them is this kind of desert mercantile. They're obsessed with levitation, and they've made golems. And that when this veil was first opened, the golems around the world randomly became sentient. And Carl's character was the first golem ever to become sentient because he kind of drifted in. He's a wooden golem that drifted in. And so part of his backstory, there's a faction of this. There's a kind of a splinter faction of this desert civilization that yes, the Deadlands Medieval is cool. That are kind of like going after the sentient golems. So Carl's background is kind of being the first and fighting them, right? So basically, sorry, going back to prep, part of the thing that I like to do is just make like the factions of enemies before the game plays or before I even deal with the map. So like I made Dark Tide, like I made a different kind of like here's the ones that are kind of the mooks of the Dark Tide, right? They're the ones that are the most common and they have these abilities like I can wall climb. Then I have the kind of bigger brute that has multiple arms that can swim. Then I have ones that can like are very mobile and shoot spines from their back, and each kind of has the theme, right? I did that with pirates too. I had like the kind of pirates that have 6 guns on them, and then I have the pirates that have like a storm mage theme, stuff like that. So when you, Carl, you're talking about like the um, part of the prep is like I just have my different parts ready to go, right? So like in the fort that you are fighting, so this is this desert king, this desert kind of alchemical mercantile society, right? They kind of have guards with pole arms, but then they have that all have kind of alchemy bombs that they can throw or like stuff like flash powder. I have them. I have some of the uh, bird riders. That's kind of in the theme, right? These kind of desert bird riders that they can drop alchemical bombs on ships. You're fighting people, or basically it's power armor but alchemical. It's like half living golem armor. That's what they're kind of fighting. That can shoot acid and have anti magic fists. So definitely like part of it to make it easier for me is just having creatures ready to go. I think, Carl, for you, that's why it seems more complex. Is that I have all these different type of characters ready to go, and then I'll just make elite versions of them, which I just call elite, and they just have like more wound cap and maybe higher skills, a couple skills that are higher. So that's a really easy way to have variety of types fit a theme. Have it ready to go. So if you just need to put a map, you can just throw people on, and then have stronger versions as the players gain go up in strength, right? And then that map I already had, so I knew your character. Part of the reason when his character came in, he didn't have all his fancy guns, so we came up with the reason that you had been lured to this fort when it was dilapidated, and kind of stored your bag, right? And then this was this whole thing of you getting back your stuff, but then they've kind of moved in and made this a illegal. Technically, they're there illegally, impromptu fort. Um, so there's just some interesting stuff with like, well, there was a ship that was waiting there. You guys could have approached us from the water. You could have approached us from the forest. You could have like snuck in into the underground area, right? But because of those critical fails, yeah.
So
Anyways, and yeah, there's a lot of talking for me. So do you want
well,
to?
so I mean, so when I prep, I do kind of lazy GM's technique a little bit.
Yeah,
More what what are kind of the key points? What are the key locations? What are the key things that could happen? What are some secrets that the players could, so you guys constantly there's secrets of this world, and you guys constantly run up against them, and you can learn them in multiple ways, and so you kind of learn them as you go, and those secrets kind of evolve the world. And so I do a lot of world building up front, at
yeah,
a high level, but nothing to the level of probably, detailing out every faction and how they all work and
no,
everything. That sort of evolves as you run into them.
yeah.
So
But that's how I do it too. I mean, I probably like to put a little bit lore in behind the scenes, but like I like to do a mix of that. Like there's sessions like I have these big set pieces, right? Where you guys can really do a lot of stuff, but then also there's a lot of times where I'm just like, let's just see what happens, and this is the you guys can take so many different ways to go that I'm not going to try to write anything too much ahead of time, right? And then
yeah,
I really,
yeah.
really utilize. There's something people talking about, which is interesting to kind of bring into this conversation. But Savage World still has some really good tools that I think are still kind of unique for it. Specifically, kind of how dramatic tasks, which have a lot more flexibility with them, and quick encounters and social conflicts, I think are still. I mean, I've seen similar things in other games, but as a whole, that toolbox is still pretty unique to Savage Worlds, and that's why I still like using it, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah, we were just talking about earlier how we had I had a comment on a video about
oh
it's like Savage Worlds is like the poor man's version of now it went out of my head of GURPS, and it's like for people who need a remedial version of GURPS, and like, whoa, dude, calm down, but it's
yeah, yeah,
so yeah, there are a lot of other universal systems out there for sure. Yeah. Um, it just it it's just I've read some of them, and it's just there. It's like kind of like my computer, right? I use a Mac, and the Mac just works the way I expect things to work. Savage World just kind of works for me, and in the way that it does things, and the way that I can tweak it and work on it, and so not all the universal, like the Genesis system.
I'm
Never
not the
never
biggest
really
fan of
got it. Never really
Genesis.
got it.
I'm not the biggest fan of Cipher system. I've never yeah, GURPS I'm really not a fan of either. It's just
GURPS
kind
is
of
too
too
heavyweight. Yeah, the GURPS is like
heavy and
that is
also like
crunchy.
not written the best. Yeah, I mean, I there's definitely criticisms you could levy to Savage Worlds. I mean,
Oh,
it's like,
sure, sure.
we're not like the biggest strength of Savage Worlds for us is that it's the openness and how it can just play any game in it, right? And how
Yeah,
easy it is to customize things and how easy it is to make creatures like as it from a GM standpoint and how you can just not have to learn 10 rules. I mean, that's like any universal system. Um,
right.
but I definitely think there's room for new systems because, like it or not, like Savage Worlds still did come from Deadlands,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it always has some of that DNA in it that's just never going to go away. Um, and so for some games, and not necessarily like settings or genres, but like types of games, right? Like it just doesn't do it as well. Like to what I talked about before, my Savage Fallout game, when I originally wrote Savage Fallout, which you can still read, um, I had a lot of like modules that made it more like hardcore mode of like survival and have make sure you have enough food and like armor degradation stuff like that, which just doesn't work in Savage Worlds in my opinion. And even in the game that you're playing now, originally because there wasn't a good updated nautical system. I think I even said something in a forum and Shane responded like, "Yeah, we know like." With what at 50 Fathoms, like the upgrade is just not there.
Right.
They did a little like update for Suede, but it's just not there. So I had to write a lot of my own nautical systems, and the anything too crunchy or like keeping track of things just doesn't work, right? You really have to go for like um, dice supply systems or any like doing kind of granular like tracking of this and like super intense nautical chase rules like they just don't work in my opinion for Savage Worlds. Like it really needs to stay pulpy, stay kind of that level, right? Very very cinematic, very like not Michael Bay but like very like action movie,
Yeah.
that kind of level of compared to other stuff. I don't know if people have a different opinion, but yeah.
Popular granularity to isolator. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So now Dead End is a setting I would love to have a chance to read, but I've never had a chance to read that particular setting. Dead End is a zombie apocalypse setting.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I think there's supposed to be a few rules in there that really
For survival and
yeah, that survival, but I
okay.
just I've never had a chance to read it. So um I can only buy so many settings. I only have so much money. So
Yeah.
now, if
And
anybody
like
has
mental
settings, they
bandwidth.
can give them to me, and then I'll read them. For sure. So that's fine. You can give them to me. I'll read them. We'll do a video on the channel. But then I have them. So that's how I got Secrets Agents of Section D, which might be something we might want to play. I got a free copy of that. So,
Yeah.
but just have them send me a review copy. Yeah, well, I mean, so that's what I said. So, if somebody wants to send me one, I'm okay. I'm um, totally okay with getting new stuff and reading it and
Yeah.
talking about it and because it's interesting because what's cool is all the different settings then you can pick it. There's like cool things in each one, like setting
Yeah.
rules or edges or something, and then you can kind of pull them together, in a way that's maybe unique to what you're trying to accomplish. Like the Han cluster, which is Tracy Sizemore. It's got this idea of the next, which is something where you can be in space, but your friends can be half a galaxy away and you can still talk to them and you can still be by them and fight with them. But if something bad happens to you, your real body could be damaged and you might be in the spaceship with nobody around, bleeding out because you went to help a friend. So it's really, that's, I could see taking that idea and using it in another kind of game where because people are always worried about splitting the party, and now everybody's not together, and everybody can still be together yet apart and doing their own thing. So it was an interesting concept, but I wouldn't have known about that except that I got a chance to read that setting and
Yeah.
kind of understand it. So um, just looking at the chat, is there any other interesting stuff in there? You want to roll another d10?
I sure. Oh, that's a 5.
5. Edges. Your favorite edges or your least
What?
favorite edges.
This, we have a video about this. We have videos about this.
So, well, that's true. Okay, roll again.
I mean, favorite edge is arcane background.
Well, okay.
Is that a cheap shot? I think everybody always gives me shit every time I say that. Is because it technically is an edge, but the powers. One of my favorite things about Savage Worlds are the powers. Like that is literally one of my favorite things. If there's any Pathfinder 2e players in the game, in the chat, like I love Pathfinder, but man, their spell system needs just a complete overhaul, in my opinion. There's so many spells that don't do anything and sound so cool. The power system of Savage Worlds, and I think a lot of people. I've been hearing this more and more. Is it? I can't ever pronounce it right. Is it Venetian? Not Venetian. Vanican casting.
Vancian magic.
Vancian.
That's spell slots. Yeah.
Spell slots and the whole concept of resting and having to like I'm playing a Pathfinder 2e game that's the vaults AP. It's not the best. And that one is like, you got to just go back to town. Like, what are you going to do, right? If the cleric is tapped out, the cleric is tapped out. Yes, we have videos about tier lists. So yeah, I mean, least favorite edges. I mean, in my power guide right now, I do have some ranks for stuff, and that's just to be. Most of the stuff in there is C to A, and even D can be a good thing in the right. But I do have some Fs. One of the Fs I have just for edges is Soul Drain. Soul Drain is my F power edge. I think it's. I even started saying, "Oh, Soul Drain, why have you forsaken me?" It's just so bad. If you want it for the flavor of being an edgelord caster, then yes, it can do that for you. But it's just horrible to take fatigue to get PowerPoints. There's so many other ways for PowerPoint recovery. Like the PowerPoint's edge and like Lucky, which gives you a Benny. So that's one of I think the worst powers in the game, edges in the game, because not only do you have to like the opportunity cost of taking an advancement for that, it just is horrible. Like you're just injuring yourself when there's so many other ways to get PowerPoints back that it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's my F1. And and the Fantasy Pain, they added a new edgelord caster edge that is much better, called it is called Blood Magic. Which is more of an evil edge, but it's much better for PowerPoint recovery, actually, specifically if you have damaging stuff. So so Johnny Doom, our me and Carl's kind of workaround for that for the end of session is that I think it's like in the last either like 20 or 15 minutes, they can only use one Benny to do that. Only one. If they have a Benny, they can do one in the last 20 minutes of the session, and then that's it. So if they're hoarding all their bennies to then like Gulge, just instantly use them all. We definitely restrict that. Yeah, to one Benny. And then sometimes if you're in the middle of an encounter, I think me and Carl both do this, is we say, no, you're not getting your full amounts back. You get maybe one back, right? So
that's the key is you can't just take your bennies and load up yourself at the end of a session. Now, if the session's the end of an adventure, you probably had many hours to top yourself up. But if you're in the middle of an encounter, it's like, you can spend a Benny that you've got laying around to get 5 power points before the end of the session. And sometimes you'll get your 3 Bennies back at the beginning of the next one, depending on where you are within the encounter. But sometimes, like Eric says, we go, you're in the middle of combat. You're spending your Bennies. You can't like hold off doing anything in combat until so...
These are the best sodas. Yes, I am. I go to the store and I buy like 12 of different flavors of these. They're so good and they're really low sugar. So if we could get paid by Olipop, that would be awesome. But I don't think
Not a sponsor
Olipop has the
today.
desire to sponsor a Savage Worlds um, channel. But yeah,
Yeah. Probably don't have the mass market appeal of some of
no,
those
no,
other
for Olipop specifically, unless
one
yeah,
point. They need channels that have 2.5 million subscribers. We don't have that,
yeah,
so
yeah. So yes, the Highlander rule exactly. That's the I find the best way to do it. What's another horrible edge for you, Carl?
well, so I my brain just went blank on the names, but for general, I'll just say generally, any edge that has a very specific thing, like you need a Joker, or you need to,
Yes, Joker edges. The Joker edges.
just
Yeah,
I just don't like them because they're too they're not applicable in a general sense. It's like, oh, you just have to have
most of
this
the time.
one little
Yeah,
situation. And so I the names have broken out of my brain suddenly, but things like that need a Joker or something like that are very niche, too nichey, and you can't use them in a general sense. Those I don't like.
yeah. I think you're thinking of Power Surge and d- uh, yeah. I can't remember the Marshall ones. I gave Power Surge a D. It's not as bad as Soul Drain. With those, definitely like yeah. I also think those are kind of bad. I did have a build that did include the ranged one. But that's because that was after they've already taken level headed, improved level headed, and quick. So at that point, you're kind of shuffling initiative around a lot. So yeah, No Mercy and Killer Shot or something. I can't remember it either. Um, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Those I don't.
Interesting
Not
enough,
fans.
though, I think if your GM allows it, if you have Warrior's Gift, see, these are all samples from my Powers guide, but if you have Warrior's Gift, Power Surge is actually an interesting one to consider. That if you see your Blaster Wizard has a Joker, they're technically on hold. I mean, your GM might rule against it, but really, it's by the writings, like give them Power Surge so they get that uh, more power points back, or give them if your Marshall character has a Joker, give them the equivalent with the No Mercy. Yeah,
That's a good point. Fourth Joker deck makes it a lot more
I've never
possible.
played a 4 Joker game. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Um, so let me see here. Oh, bennies. I wrote down a little note to myself. I suck at bennies. So
okay, yeah,
I don't feel like I give enough. I don't feel like part of it is I've mentioned this before in many videos. It's if you're at the table, you're tossing them, and I got them in my hand, and so when I'm at
yeah.
conventions, I'm tossing them. But in the virtual table spot where you got to go click the little button and stuff like that and do all that, I completely blows my mind that I can't remember to do it. And that's why it's interesting when you do your break, like we do breaks now. Oh, after the break, here's a Benny, sort
Yeah.
of thing. And then like I was trying to do fixed timelines, every 20, 30 minutes, maybe get a Benny just to make sure I'm keeping the economy full. But I'm always forgetting,
Oh,
I
I
tell
think
you
that's
guys to
common for
remind me.
everybody.
I tell you to remind me when you
Yeah,
use an or a hindrance. So
yeah, there's a lot of different ways. Yeah, Johnny, there's the kind of like if you mess up a lot, you get a Benny. I did that after critical failure. That's
yeah.
appropriate. I
Yeah.
might give a Benny. I mean, for the break Benny that you saw, Carl, that's mostly for like session long encounters. Like you just have to. People are not probably going to use their hindrances in an account, like right, in a combat, right?
True.
But no, I mean, same with me. It's hard to remember. You really have to tell players, hey, you know, within reason, remind me of your hindrances because I'm just not going to remember um, all the time, right? I actually think you're pretty good. I mean, we're playing. You'll give out bennies if we have interesting conversations or we do something. I mean, you just have to be. I think you gotta be kinder to yourself with that stuff because I think every Savage Worlds game master can definitely forget, right, about that because it's not like D&D where it's like you did the most, which I'm glad because I think that's dumb. Where it was always like the player who did the most kind of atypical or not atypical, the most typical heroic thing got an inspiration, right? Not if they did something interesting or they did something what their character would do that was like in a good way. So I appreciate that at Savage Worlds, but it is very hard to remember 4 or 5 players what
Yeah. Now I
that are
don't
interesting. So
suck at conviction, because I tend to give conviction out a lot more than maybe the rules say I should. I like giving out conviction, so
yeah,
I like
well,
people to have
it's a
that.
good reward
Yeah,
between like they did something, but it's not necessarily an advance or something, right? Or it's a plot point that ended. So um, yes,
yeah,
and I mean Foundry has a good thing now where you can hover over the player kind of like the player list, and it will just instantly tell you the hindrances, which is a nice way. But still, as a game, you have so much going on, you're just not going to do that, right? So reminding that, what if the whole group was responsible for deciding when a Benny should be rewarded? Yeah, that's a very group dependent thing. That is a very very group dependent thing. Some groups that can definitely work, that are more kind of on that level and not more supportive than other groups, but that is definitely a group thing. In Carl's group, we definitely have a thing where like I think me and Morgan and some other people, but like we'll remind you like, hey, oh, that's also like their hindrance, right? Like we'll also tell the game master sometimes
yeah.
like Benny for them
Well,
because of that, because yeah,
sometimes you have to remind other players that it's their hindrance. So yeah,
yes,
they're
yes,
not even like, oh,
there's that too.
yeah, I just played it. So
But I think that the freebie, that's definitely a very kind of specific group, because not only is it the like whole level of everybody has to be on the same page, it them everybody's stopping to say, oh, like I think they should have a Benny, like we should vote on it, or you definitely have to have a good a group that kind of can do that without kind of disrupting the narrative, right? Um, but I think as a player, don't be shy to call out to the game master, especially if there's another shy player. I think that's something that I would definitely consider myself a outgoing player if you can't tell.
sure,
Um, one of my negatives is I don't think I don't really hog the spotlight that much, but I do have ADHD, so I can tend to talk a lot, I guess. But I also have a hypersensitivity to other people, so I will try to like, you know, if there's a shy player, get them involved or call out to the game master. Like they might not be upfront with themselves. Like the game master saying, "Oh, I did my hindrance," right? Sometimes as another player, if you're a more outgoing player, the rules are more confident. I think it's definitely fine for you to speak out for another player. I think in that case, it is totally fine for you to speak out. So
well, and I don't even get like, I don't get, some game masters might get bent out of shape when people are doing a lot of metagaming. I don't, because you do a lot of helping the other, like, oh, hey, did you know that you've got this particular edge and you haven't used it? Or,
yeah,
you're good at taunting. Do you think maybe taunt would be a good thing? Some would just slam that down and say, what are you doing? You can't metagame like that. They have to play their own character. But I'm okay with it because it
I,
helps out
is
everybody.
that metagaming? I mean, is that I see what there's definitely GMs that wouldn't have a problem with it, but in this case, like, well, one of the things is that I help a lot of people in your group make their characters,
Oh yeah.
pretty much everybody but Morgan, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, I help them because I know the system so well. I think it's not really. I mean, it's more that they just forget they have a certain ability or edge, and that's the thing with Savage Rules, right? You can have so many kind of random abilities or edges that do different things. Um,
Yep, yep. Every
oh, of
player
course,
should have a
yeah,
chance to be the spotlight during a
always,
session. Yep.
always, and that's one of those things too that like the way a lot of I mean Savage Worlds, it's good that it has it in there, but like with all these games like that, we have initiative for combat, right? And everybody gets to do something in combat, but for things like social characters or social
Yeah.
scenes, like I'm not the kind of person who thinks just because you're not kitted out to be social, and you definitely should let the social specialized person do it when it's important or at most of the time. But if you're like a character or you're a game master and like they're not the most sociable person, they should still be able to be involved from their own point of view, right? For the other types of gameplay, for exploration
Well,
and social
and
stuff.
that's where support and
So
tests are
yeah,
so important, right? Because
yeah,
you can, you may not be the most social character, but like, um, you have good intimidation. So you're staring down a little bit, making the person a little uncomfortable, so that when the other person tries to persuade them, they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, whatever you say, kind of thing. And so you
yeah,
can do
yeah.
support, and then tests obviously is classic. You're a non-combat person in combat, you can take advantage of tests. And so there's always something that anybody who's specialized
Oh,
somewhere
for
somehow
sure. For
can
any
do, for sure. I mean,
And I think tests and support are the biggest, I wouldn't say problem, but the biggest adjustment for people coming from other systems to really like learn what it's all about. Like that, it's so much more because every single, even the group that you're in now, like that those people, I have to remind them like, hey, you can use a different skill here. We can get creative. You can use your science right now to support, or you can use your. And I think a lot of people just are just so that is just so like um anathema, or I don't know how to pronounce that word either. Uh, anathema to the kind of use to what they're playing from say some a traditional D20 game, or even a lot more narrative games that you can have that openness with skills, right? And tests like you can use. You don't just have to use fight athletics, right? You can use uh, whatever. You can use some weird skills once in a while for
Yeah.
this if it's appropriate. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So, um, so that's another good thing about Savage Worlds is that you can pull that off. So,
And that's something that I have not seen in a lot of other games. Going back to kind of like talking about some of these other universal games, right? That's another thing that Savage Worlds I just have not seen replicated. Maybe somebody can shout out another system that has that kind of open creative use of skills for
well,
like real mechanical benefits, right?
and Savage Worlds also has a limited set of skills too, right? So,
Yes, very
so
limited.
you
Yeah,
can so a skill encompasses a lot of stuff. Like science encompasses a lot of things,
sure.
that you could take advantage of versus something that has every skill with specialization, and and it's like I only know how star drives of the X class work. I don't know how other star drives work for an M class. I mean, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so it, that limited set of skills also helps with that, so that
definitely.
you
Yeah.
can find a way of shoehorning a lot of stuff into it, for sure. So, um, was everybody think of my hat? Papa
Papa
Bear.
Bear. It didn't hit me right away. Yeah, the D4 athletics is a big one. That's always an easy one to test. And in the powers, I think one of the maneuvers that gets very overlooked is the push maneuver. That I think is very underutilized in most games. That is really good, especially with the shield. Like it is a super strong thing to do that just it does very underutilized. That you can, you know, that kind of athletic maneuver and then also make prone, which is in the test, by the way. So yeah, very strong one.
Well,
Before the end, maybe we have some people in the chat. We were kind of talking about maybe some videos we wanted to do, and since my power guide is coming out, I don't know if anybody watched my video about illusion, but I was just after doing this guide, some of the other powers that are similar to illusion, which I call sandbox powers or open powers, like elemental manipulation and telekinesis and shape change, even something like growth shrink. If people have a desire for me to do deep dives on those powers, I just don't know if that's a thing people will want or not. So, um,
and I
just
haven't
putting
looked
it out
as
there if that's
I
something that,
I haven't looked at the
yeah.
stats lately, so I'm not sure how those did either. To be honest, how the illusion one did recently. So,
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was comments people really
oh yeah,
appreciated it because it's
I
one of
think it
those
went
things
well.
that,
I think it
yeah,
was got good traction as far as
yeah.
stuff goes. That's just recently whether there's been an uptick or anything like that.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, because sometimes people find it later and it gets a little bump, and, so you
Yeah,
have to kind of look at it in later. So
and also you brought up doing some more superpower things, right? That's what we were kind of
oh
talking
yeah,
about. Is
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. I don't know how people feel, but I mentioned to you the
let's bring it up.
this the yeah, I don't even know what it's called, right? Where you can have two different powers and one's active and not active, and then they they
Well, they
work
changed it a
together,
bit.
and so
Yeah, it's they changed it a bit. So there was their first one had that much more. It's the power sets and they're switchable. I
yeah,
think you're talking about power sets, which are like full on sets. Um, they definitely made it more restrictive, where it's just full on multiple power sets. Before you could do it in individual powers. With switchable now is just like the same power with different mods. Before you could have like one power that had like could either be a a melee attack like a stone spear melee attack, or the shooting the whatever the shooting power, right, of like a spear throwing, and all in one power with just like one extra power point, one extra mod power, whatever. Yeah, power point. Um, Power sets is that thing you're talking about now, right? Where it's like you can be an android werewolf or something, or uh, yeah.
so how did we start gaming together? I'm trying to think of Did
How did
we?
we?
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember way back.
I joined your Cyberpunk game.
Was that when we first
Yeah.
pulled together? It was on my side. So I had a game called Chicago Plex 2090, and that was a cyberpunk game taking place in Chicago, which I lived in the Chicagoland area for a while, so I
Yeah.
was very familiar with it. And so you can remember how there was Taste of Chicago and there was all this stuff that was
Yeah.
very Chicago and stuff. So that was and so you
And it was
applied through looking for the good.
Interface 02, and that was Roll20, right?
Yeah, Roll20 because Roll20 has a really good looking for group, right? And
Yeah.
so and that's
Yeah, it was
how I
through
found it.
Roll20. Yeah.
And then we played like
That was one of my craziest characters. That was a crazy game. I literally had a cat person who dual wielded mono whips and rode a motorcycle at the same time, and somehow I didn't die. So
you never rolled a critical fail. I don't think you
the
ever
one that I
did.
rolled a critical fail was
What
when I
was
was
it?
trying to impress this pop star that you had, and I rolled the biggest critical fail ever, trying to impress her. That was funny. But yeah, I never killed myself.
But never in combat. Did you ever roll
never
a
in
critical?
combat. No,
Yeah.
that was a crazy character. He really tore stuff up.
Yeah. So that's where we met. And then my I think Heather, who's also in the game group, I met through she was running a game for
It's like
Firefly
or Cortex.
Firefly.
Right? Like Cortex.
Yeah, it was
Genesis.
I don't know if it's I think it's a Genesis rules. It's very funky with the dice. I just didn't like it at all. So and then hubby came in and my daughter plays with us and my son, he was in one of my sessions and then he dropped out. He's just like flaky, so he couldn't stay in the session for that long. So yeah, so our group has been pretty solid for how many years now? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good track record. So, and I think part of it, I don't know how you feel, but part of it is that we don't get stale. We try something new going forward. It's like, we don't.
And that's the power of Savage Worlds, is that we always do a new type of game. Like literally the games go so far between, the next game is always so different, right?
Yeah, sometimes
what you mean?
Yeah, they're very different. Yeah, we don't do the same thing all the time.
No.
Because I think that would get stale if just did a fantasy campaign that lasted 5 years. I feel like I did that when I was a kid with D&D in high school.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's easy to keep that fresh and interesting, for long periods of time.
Yeah.
To be honest, so.
I mean, with Savage Worlds too, like it's also, for me at least, when you played that much, you need that mechanical diversity, like the not mechanical, but the character option diversity that comes from going to different companions, to different setting books, right? To keep it real fresh. Because the core stuff, that's just the problem with a universal game, right? The core stuff is just always the same and is very generic. Something like Pathfinder, like I could play a Pathfinder game right after it because I'm playing a different class, which operates so differently, Their mechanics are so much more tuned to the archetype, versus Savage Worlds, where it's, a lot of the mechanics are kind of the same if you're just going by generic sway. So also the diversity of all the companion books and all the setting books really add a lot to me.
So I had a question. Any plans on doing doing astral plays? I don't know. I our group is kind of shy a little bit. I don't know if they'd be like.
I would do it. For me, yeah, it had to be one shots. I mean, I did do a one with the old group. It's more about just using resources that are cool to do on YouTube, right? Like maps and artwork and stuff. So, hey, I mean, we could get that going.
Yeah, just drop a line to a Savage Worlds GM at gmail.com, and we'll see what happens. We never know.
Do one of your one shots, right?
Yeah, we can do one of my convention games. That'd be fun. I've never done it as actual play.
A Fallout one shot, but I could never sell that, right? So, but I definitely want to do a Fallout one shot.
Yeah, that would have to be a lot of. It's so flavorful. You'd have to have a lot of file to get those serial numbers off for a Fallout game.
Yeah. What do they say the average RPG game? Who says?
Is it 6 sessions long? Well, we definitely don't have average. Ours goes a lot longer than 6 sessions. So,
who says that? Is that what Peg says?
I don't know.
Man, I don't know what session I'm on in my game right now. My campaign. I think we're like on. We must be on session 30 or something. We're not even close to wrapping up, really.
Well, do you have like an end game
Oh yeah,
planned?
I had to. Players left. Luckily, I was kind of describing before that I had like it was I was very ambitious, but part of the reason players were so their character backstories were so plugged into the narrative that when people left, it created a problem. Luckily for your character, I already had inserted him early on. I just had this kind of statue basically that I knew that could be you or somebody else could slot in that's been on the ship with them for like most of the game. So you came in, it was easy to bring you in. Um, but yeah, I definitely have an endpoint. I've had to kind of wrap it up a little bit more than I thought. I wanted to be much more open sandboxy, and so I'm kind of more making it linear. But I, now that you join in, it's like I don't know. I'm having fun just kind of doing your thing, and then we'll go back and forth. I think we'll see where it takes us. But yeah,
So that's the thing. I wonder what the average would be. So we really need to go by the median,
uh,
not the average,
yeah,
because that would be a more interesting statistics to see what the median of length of sessions are versus what the overall average is.
yeah.
So that would be an interesting statistic to understand. So, and I wonder what the sigma of that is. But anyway, so
Oh, it was nerd immersion. Okay, yeah. I mean, for me, 6 sessions is a one shot. I mean, one shot is that's a one shot. I mean, you could even call it a mini campaign, but I still consider that in one shot territory. Like personally,
you
I
can't
mean
you can't grow a
that's
character and you can't
that's
really
an
explore
arc.
them.
That's just a single arc.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I can't imagine calling a 6 session game a campaign unless they're like 6 sessions that are 6 hour, 8 hours long or something.
Well, I mean, I guess the six adventures, let's say adventures, which could be multi-session. Does the six adventures long enough to really make a
That's a
campaign out of it?
mini. I would say I would call it a mini campaign, probably. Right?
That's more of a what do we call a mini series, right? That's more of a mini
Yeah,
series. You're telling kind
a
of a
mini
very
series. Yeah,
self-contained
it's a novella.
story. Yeah, yeah, a novella. There you go. Sure, sure.
Yeah, I know a lot of people one shots for. Most of one shots that I've ever played or want to run are always 2 sessions, usually 3 hour sessions. I find it's a very hard. I think it's actually harder to do like a single session, right? Well, like have all the
So
narrative stuff in, have everybody, um, and it's also the players themselves because a lot of times with like say like D&D one shots, if players make this like crazy character and they really want to like get the concepts out, like that's just going to take too much time, so that can
right.
always hold up. You gotta have to be in the mindset of like we gotta like run this, we just gotta
So
do it. We can't spend too much time on our character like, oh, my character came from an orphanage and was from a different reality or whatever it is, right?
well, and that's the thing. So if you're doing a true one shot where it's not part of a campaign,
Yeah,
then timing is huge, right? Then you manage timing,
yeah,
you do a timing management, you push it through, you get it done. You do things like quick encounters to get through stuff faster,
yeah,
and that's what you do in a convention. But I think about if it's part of a campaign, does it matter if this thing takes an extra couple hours to finish it up? Does it matter? Did the players are like talking to each other and having a good time
yeah.
chatting it up? There's no such thing as a 4 hour one shot when it's in part of the campaign, I think. So I don't think, so a one shot isn't part of a campaign generally anyway. But so my campaign games are all 4 hours, and I managed to run those in 4 hours. You just get used to pacing. You got to keep the pace up.
Yeah, you gotta get the pace up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you can do them well, then I mean, yeah, that's. I find it hard, but I think I definitely been in one shots that are good, um, where you can be silly and you leave it open and just have your one kind of apex right encounter or whatever it is.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Dramatic tasks are great for that.
Oh
You know,
yeah, yeah. Dramatic tasks are fabulous for that.
having that kind of like the one shot that I did for the D&D group. It was a 2 session one shot, or you call it double shot, I guess. It ended with a dramatic task that was pretty intense. So, if you were in that, right? That you
Yep.
remember that one.
Yep. I played I played somebody who had very strong ability to do taunt as well as
Oh yeah,
shooting, and so I was like taunt, shoot, taunt, shoot, taunt, shoot all the
I
time.
believe you taunted the little like the apex spirit, like haunted spirit doll.
Yeah, yeah,
Somehow taunted her.
yeah.
She
I
had like
taunted her.
crazy resistance to that, but you taunted her and shot her and like killed her instantly. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So see, but that's what I like to do. I like to have characters that have. I'm not afraid to waste, to do a multi-action and take the -2
Yeah.
penalty if it's interesting, right? So I mean,
Hey, test builds are great for that. I mean,
yep,
I've
yep.
had build videos about that. We've talked about that a lot. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's not much that we haven't talked about. So some of it's going to be revisiting. I think I should go. There's
Sure.
200, almost 250 episodes. So
Yeah.
I think we're at 243. So there's a lot
Okay.
of fertile ground that probably could be revisited, to be honest with you. But with the modern view of things, because
Yeah.
some of this stuff was, like you said, was Savage Worlds 1.2, and now we're up to 5.0
It's
printing.
Wade.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5 printing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the biggest thing was powers. That was the most overhaul. Were powers and some conditions. So that's why I really had to go through my old power document because
yeah, it was totally
so
outdated.
many changes, mostly positive. Honestly, I was telling Carl this. I was like, I don't actually think this, but I was like, so many of the things that I had problems with, they fixed. And this is not things that I complained about. I think everybody just noticed it. I was like, so I had to go through basically and cross out, oh, the updates fixed most of my issues with this. And the Fantasy Companion really fixed most of my issues. Like, I'm really in the kind of camp that if you have the Fantasy Companion, even if it's not a fantasy game, you should use that power system because it's just better overall. And epic powers are just better for progression.
Epic powers
for
are
them.
cool.
So
Yeah, epic powers are cool.
yeah.
So
What's the okay? Yeah. Hey, you could just lie. You could say 4 games. I mean, I run a game and then I'm in 3 other games in the week, but some of those are inconsistent.
wow.
I play in 3 games, but one of those is like very inconsistent. So it's kind of like, yeah, and then I run one.
So I now play in Eric's game, which
Yeah.
I didn't have that going for a while, and then I run my game. That's like, I don't think I could handle more than that. But then you can see what other crap is in my brain. It's like I want to write music and I want to program some garbage, and so there's a lot of stuff that's on my plate. I just wrote a song for work, which I'm going to premiere at an all hands meeting. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully that'll be nice, but we'll see. So
All right.
so I got a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, the Fantasy Companion is pretty rock solid. They did a really good job on that one. So Horror Companion, hit or miss, but the Fantasy Companion, rock solid. So
yeah, I think horror is just one of those genres that Savage Worlds struggles with a bit. It used to struggle with fantasy, but they did such a good. The old Fantasy Companion was not great in my opinion, and it didn't. So it definitely handles it better now for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Anybody, any other questions or thoughts from the chat? Because I guess I'm running out of things to yap about, to be quite honest. So
I mean, we could talk more, but at some point we just got to close up shop, and yeah, I gotta re-edit my thing before I send it out. So
yeah, you still got editing to do on your document. For me, it's like, I don't know. I just I'm not sure. I gotta do some real thinking about the next session of my game, and think a couple of steps ahead, because you guys have a lot of different things you could do now. You're like, the world's your oyster. You can go anywhere, do anything. You know what you have to do.
We got kicked off because we left. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yep. So, yeah, I think people are starting to thinking they're going to head out. So, yeah, it was great. This was, again, Friday night, no game, want to do something anyway kind of thing. And so if that happens again, maybe we'll do it again, just to hang out and chat and yap about Savage Worlds or whatever, yap about whatever. So, and if, again, anybody ever has any ideas, anything, emails asavageworldsgm@gmail.com, savageworldsgm@gmail.com. And then, yeah, just send us an email about the one shot, so we have your email address. And if we ever do one, reach out. Who knows? I wouldn't mind doing an actual play, but it'd have to be something that I know really well, and that everybody's like totally bought into it. I'd hate to have somebody get on camera and then are like, I really didn't think this was fun. And so, it comes across as they're not having fun, and it's not fun for the audience to see someone not have fun. So I want to make sure that that would be part of it. But um, that's how I feel about it, at least. But
Yeah,
so
I'd be down. I've done actual plays for many different games before, so
I know you have.
uh,
I know you have.
for me running it, it's just the like restriction on art and music and all that stuff. Like I no, I can't do it. Somebody else to do it for me. I'd do it. I'd run one, but yeah, going through that stuff that's what makes it hard for me. But anyways,
Yeah, because you prepped and you have pictures and you have all that. If you do more theater than mine, I
yeah,
guess you can get away with
yeah, more
doing it.
theater than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
um, okay. Well, cool. Hey, thanks
All
everybody
right.
for hanging out with us. It was a great Friday night. Lots of great chat. Appreciate it. I'm glad Eric joined me, so we could go back and forth a little bit on some stuff. And um, we will see you in the next video. We'll see you in the next live stream. I'm hoping to do a celebratory live stream for 6 years, but I'm not sure because December is like right here. It's like,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
I will be traveling, but I think I probably can make it work. But I all the travel stuff was so in the air for a while because I didn't my passport
Yeah. So we'll see.
renewed, and then
It's
the government shut down. So yeah,
yeah. It's not like 6 years is like a milestone year. So if I don't do it, maybe I do it in January. I don't know, but yeah, it's not a big deal. So
yeah.
so anyway, thanks again, everybody, and we will catch you later. And take her easy. Thanks
All
much.
right, happy game.